think that's the basic thing. Healing comes to, at the very base of it, comes to what is our power? What is our co-creative truth? And where's the courage? How do we find it again? And courage, cœur, is French from heart. So like you say, we come from our heart because the electromagnetic frequencies of the heart and the brain together create coherence or harmony within our spirit and soul. And it ripples out into our collective consciousness, as Carl Jung would have called it, or the universal matrix that we are all a part of. And that I see is, like you said, it's quickening now. Everyone, I don't know why we've been asleep. And I don't know why we've all been so fear-based and physically focused. But it's clear to me that people, I've been doing my work for 25 years and people were just kind of like, oh yeah, whatever. And now people can drop into themselves and remember just so much quicker. It's not about the surface reality of being a mother or a wife or a doctor or having houses or things. People are realizing, oh, these things are not so important to me. It's the feeling of connection. It's those quantum physicists will go into, it's the nothing, it's the no thing, it's the energy. And understanding that our bodies are this conduits and trusting our evolution and trusting every little, some of us get confused. Well, is that my intuition? Is that my thoughts? And we get confused. And so part of my work is helping people, like you said, they get out of their head into their body and start marrying the process of translating soul or spirit information into their personality so they can walk with congruence with their path on the planet. And it's the greatest gift I've been given. And I think when we're really of service and we're truly healing, I'm healed every time someone else is healed. And it is the most beautiful, magical thing I think the universe offers, is it's this mutual journey. Yeah, that's where I'd go with that for the moment.
No, that's great. I love it. And it is a mutual journey. I remember when I used to do some more hands-on energy work. I don't do it so much anymore, but I loved doing it because I felt that gift for myself too. Like what you said, I felt healed as I did some of the work, and that was magical because it was the energy working through me. It wasn't like me doing anything. It's right. Like we're a conduit or a channel, and it just comes through us for them. So it affects us just as well as the person that we're assisting. So I really appreciate that you shared that. It really resonates with me. Tell us more. You talked about quantum healing. Can you talk? Yeah.
I can see your face. You're just like,
ooh. I'm so interested in it, have been for years. And, like you said about this quickening, I think, I've been studying stuff off and on for 25 years too, maybe not as much as you, but some people are so new to it, but all of a sudden there's so much interest and there's so much not understanding yet, just because it's new to so many people, right? Maybe you can share your thoughts on that with us today.
Oh, okay. Quantum, it's such a big topic. Really, all it is marrying those two worlds, really.
Okay.
There's a famous experiment. So there's Newtonian science, and they kind of truncated it. And they talk about the objective observer and the scientific method, which means if you follow these certain steps, it's going to come out a certain way. But what most people recognize these days is the observer always affects the outcome no matter what. So if that's the case, there's nothing that's truly objective. And so actually when I wrote my thesis, it was all about mind, body, medicine, and spirituality. And I healed my eyesight quite a bit, as among other things. And I was told then that, okay, if you're writing a master's degree thesis, you have to follow this research protocol. And so I was like, okay, sure. And then I was like, oh, this doesn't feel very good. It limits the co-creative process. I'm just like,
right.
So I just went about my intuitive way of being. And my thesis supervisor said, no, you're not following the research protocol. And I thought, okay, so you can do a subjective paper and get an integrative paper. And I thought, but then I couldn't do a PhD, so it was an inferior type of research. And I thought, oh my gosh. And I went into this conundrum in my head. I'm like, this is mind body medicine. This is the integration of subjective and objective realities. Yet I'm being forced to put it in one or the other, and the objective one takes the truth out of it. So I got into every quantum physics books that I can find, and I actually went into art because my background's in art therapy, art-based research by Sean McNiff says art and the creation of art, you start with a blank canvas and you end up with something, but people go to painting parties and they create something that's like paint by number. It's much the same idea. So our regular science is like, follow the paint by number and you get a specific result. But there's never any magic or surprise in it. Whereas quantum is like, no, have a blank canvas, breathe into yourself, choose the colors you want, and see what kind of surprise you come up with. And most people are very uncomfortable with that. That's the most simplest way that I can explain. And I had to write a whole new chapter in my thesis as to why I should get a thesis designation, and they should change the research protocols because it was outdated science. I won. So
nice.
I won that argument. It's about, in quantum physics, it's called the wave function. So we leave our body or our static reality, what we think is true, because it's the wave function or the creativity has collapsed for that moment, and we re-enter it. We re-enter the creative reality, which Einstein says is from our imagination. Imagination is more important than knowledge because knowledge is static. It's what we already know. So we enter the unknown. What were you going to say something?
No, I love that. I'll swing it back to you in a minute, but it took me so long to really grasp that because I was always like schooled and in my family, like knowledge is everything. And to switch and to really let my imagination take over. I mean, sometimes I still struggle with it, you know, like in full transparency, but that is where the magic happens. That is where some of my own healing has happened. And just in that letting go of the protocols. So I really appreciate that you are sharing that, you know, you've done that in your work and in like for your thesis, and you had to do that. And I meant to get a copy of your book. I have it here with me. You know, because that is that was your thesis, right? Which is now your book. Is that accurate, or is that based on each other?
It's definitely based on each other. The book is a very simplified. Most people read it in 2 days, so it's not complicated. And then people keep it. My thesis is way too long.
But it's based on that, right?
It is.
It's based on that work, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it totally is.
That's awesome. That I really appreciate you being here and sharing these things about yourself. You had mentioned when you were talking, you had healed your eyesight. Do you want to tell us more about that? I only know a little bit of that story.
Sure.